Hello, welcome back to the Mr. Arsenal podcast. James is on his way, so as soon as he hits the stream, we'll be letting him into the podcast itself. As you can see, I'm joined by Richard already from the Over and Over Again podcast. How you doing, Richard?
Yeah, not bad at all, mate. Yeah, good. Not bad at all. Are you all right?
Muggy, but yeah, I'll live.
Yeah,
Nice work for making the most of it. Oh dear. And as you can, and also two newbies who you'll be seeing a lot more of throughout the whole season. Steve and Rohan, how you doing, guys?
How you doing,
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you, Ryan?
And then we've got James as well. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And
Hello. Hello, how is everybody?
Hiya.
Yeah, all good, James. How you doing?
I'm well. Nice to be back. I hope everybody's keeping well.
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah. As I was saying, a bit much. Yes, well, count it down. A few more days ago, just over a week now, and we're still not.
Well,
go on.
Time does run in, but you see as well, guys, how complicated transfers can be. I mean, I know my position of interviewing players and managers is a very privileged one, but they can be really, really delicate. And I think Arsenal's proved that this summer so far, and it's especially with COVID, it's not simply a case of click your fingers. It could be the simple case of a really strange request, a certain payment method, could be anything. So very strange times indeed.
Yeah, it seems to be there's, players are going for big money, but clubs haven't got the money, have they? So they're doing them over instalments and all sorts of ways of putting these deals together.
Absolutely, and that's also spread out over time. And I think particularly with younger players, most really are promised the earth. You wouldn't believe what they're promised. I remember speaking to Philip Sandler, who was signed from PEC Zwolle to Manchester City a few years ago, and I was one of the first people to speak to him. And I said, "How on earth do you go from PEC Zwolle in the Netherlands to Manchester City?" And he said, "Well, James, they really sold it to me." He said they literally told me that he would be training with the likes of Aguero and David Silva, and his medical took an absolute age, and it's what got it over the line. And in the last 3 years, he's hardly played. He turned down the likes of PSV Eindhoven and the likes of AZ Alkmaar to go to Manchester City, and it hasn't really worked out. And you see with younger players in particular, guys, the importance of playing. Arsenal really didn't do themselves justice with Saliba. You look at his compatriot Fofana, who was at St Etienne with him. You would have thought that Saliba would be the one who would go on to make the waves, but it's actually Fofana who picked Leicester and has gone on to win the FA Cup and make a great name for himself. But you just see as well the importance of being able to play. I mean, from my point of view, it's just my personal opinion. I see the same rhetoric about Lokonga than what we have with Guendouzi. When Guendouzi's further on, and also he's being managed this season by Sampaoli at Marseille, and he's an excellent manager. Obviously his time at Chile and what he's achieved, and Marseille are a massive football club. But I just think Arsenal as well. We see with the £1 million transfers in a situation like COVID, there is no harm in going about your business in a different way. If you see like Leicester, for example, if you see like Braga, to give you an example about Braga, apart from the big three in Portugal, at a club that's made the most progress. Obviously, everyone knows Porto, everyone knows Benfica, everybody knows Sporting Lisbon, but Braga is a team that's made the most progress in recent years. Obviously, Trincão and Neto both came through the youth academy. Trincão is now on loan at Wolves. He's at Barcelona as well. And it started with their president. Their president is so ambitious with the training facility and making sure that he puts the best things in place. And it's no wonder that they've made progress. And I just think with Arsenal, if you look at our standing, there's two clubs in English football bigger than what we are. Historically in Liverpool and Manchester United, and you see how we're being run at the minute. It could be better. It's great to sign Ben White for the future, but look at Daniel Ballard now. Goes on loan to Blackpool, helps to get them promoted. And what is his reward? goes on loan to Millwall. You know, he didn't just go on loan to make up the numbers. He went on loan and helped to get his team promoted. And you see, particularly with younger players, and Daniel Ballard as well is also an international footballer, exactly the same as Ben White. Played for his country, dipped his toe in the international setup. So I just think Arsenal at the minute, we're not helping ourselves. It's a long old season as well. We might not be in Europe this season, but this season I think people will also remember, and it will show how long a football season actually is, because I think a lot of people do forget.
I mean, yeah, you've also mentioned Ballard there, but also Mark McGuinness, we let go for free to Cardiff City. We've just let John Jules out to Blackpool for season on loan. This is the thing, we've mentioned this ever since started off this podcast a few years back. We've got such a rich array of talent in our academy at the moment, at a level where we haven't had for so many years. And yet we're just squandering it and let it go for this, that, and the other. And we're breaking our necks to get players from abroad that are not proven in the Premier League. Let's be honest. Whereas when George Graham came in, going back to it, he gave players in the academy a chance, along with buying young and up-and-coming players as well from like sort of Stoke and all that. But the majority of his team was from the youth academy. He gave them a chance over a set amount of time. And he thrived from it. He got the fruits of the benefits of it. And it just seems like modern day football, because you've got the Man Cities and the Chelseas and Man United and Liverpool and Madrid, Barcelona, all doing splurging of money. It seems because part of our fan base is like, oh, we don't do it. What we're doing, we're going nowhere. Our club bends the knee and does that, but it screws over a lot of youth academy players that could do a better job than the players that we are actually bringing in. I mean, Saliba, I'd love what Saliba was told when we signed him, because ever since then he's never been, obviously you've got to send out on loan because that's what he wanted, and he's come back. It keeps getting sent back to France.
I think one of the problems that we've got at the minute is because we've not been doing particularly well. 2 seasons finishing 8th in the Premier League. Yes, we did win the FA Cup, but domestically in the league we haven't done particularly well for 2 or 3 seasons. And I think the problem is getting that balance between giving young players an opportunity in a struggling or a team that's struggling to get consistent results, and having the right players around them. At the moment, we're not maybe in that position. Some of our young, exceptionally good young players have rose to the top, haven't they? Smith Rowe and Saka obviously are the 2 main ones that's really come on and shown that they can thrive even in this kind of atmosphere that we've got at the moment when we haven't got the greatest team around them. But maybe some of these other youngsters that we are sending out on loan and we are maybe selling on, maybe it's because they don't have the right character to be able to play for Arsenal at a difficult time, maybe. And that's we've got to trust maybe the youth managers and the coaches and stuff at the club to maybe make those decisions. Is it right or wrong? We're not going to really know, are we? For me, I've not seen anybody from the youth team that hasn't maybe been given an opportunity in the first team that I thought they're ready to play at this moment, or they should be given a chance. There's a few that you think are just on the edge, and some of them are still a bit younger at the moment and maybe can't count them. But a lot of those ones that we've mentioned, to me, when I saw them play, I know, I'm not a coach or anything like that, but they didn't strike me as, they may be ready to come into the first team squad yet. They maybe did need a loan, and they maybe do need a loan to play a bit more football. And there's a few others that maybe could benefit from a loan as well, before they're maybe ready to come in and play in the Premier League or be part of the Premier League squad. This season, if anything, without the Europa League, the younger players probably aren't going to get as many opportunities to play in the first team for Arsenal this season, because we're going to want to try and go for the cups, aren't we? And in the Premier League, you're not going to throw too many young players in when it's important for us to try to qualify for Europe. So I think this season is probably the one season where it's probably benefit the young players that we've got to send a lot of them out on loan, because they're probably not going to play that much without the Europa League group stage, and we can't even really afford to throw too many youngsters into the League Cup either, because I think that's a competition that we need to try and go all out to do well in again, because we've got nothing else to play for. So I think this season may be slightly different, but some of these players, I think that the loans are it's good for the young players to go out and play. We've got some young players who have been stuck in our squad, like Reece Nelson, and I know Ainsley was out on loan, but There's a few, isn't there, that haven't really. Willock spent most of the last season up until the last part of the season just sitting around playing in the Europa League, and that was it. You know, Maitland-Niles wasn't really getting many opportunities, and those players are better off playing. And maybe Ballard and those other guys, McGuinness, maybe they were better off doing that. And maybe Saliba's the same, getting football. I mean, I don't think Saliba's ever going to work out at a club. I just feel he wasn't Arteta's player, and I think Arteta obviously doesn't want him around, and he's got Ben White now, and I think Ben White's the player that he did want. So I think that's the end for Saliba. I think we'll end up selling him at a loss, probably. Terrible piece of business by the club, not the first, and probably won't be the last. And but players need to play, though, especially when they're young. They need to be playing. It's no good, it's no good playing under 23s when you get to a certain age. You need to make the progression, the next step up. And if it's not going to be in the first team for whatever reason at Arsenal, they've got to go out on loan. They've got to play football, whether it's in the Premier League for someone else or whether it's in the Championship or wherever or abroad. They've got to play football. Otherwise, their developments, they're never going to become the player they could be. And that's not good for their career. Personally, is it? I mean, we want to see all our young players in the team. The more young players that come from our academy in our first team, that's brilliant. But for their own career, if they're not going to play enough, they need to be out somewhere playing football. We saw what happened with Gnabry. He was in a similar position, wasn't he? He wasn't getting many opportunities, and look where he went out on loan. It didn't work at West Brom, did it? And now look at him. So just by playing football, players develop. And if it means that they're not going to develop with us, they develop elsewhere, then that's just one of those things, isn't it? We've got a few that are developing with us really well. And ultimately, nowadays in modern football, if you get 2 or 3 out of your academy in your first team squad regularly, you've probably done pretty well. When you look at other clubs, the top clubs don't have many academy players, do they? Really, that are playing regularly in the first team. So we've got 2 or 3, maybe 2 or 3 others on the brink. Balogun, Aziz, people like that could be ready to come in this season. So we could have more academy players in our squad than pretty much everybody else, certainly any of the top clubs, if you like. So that's a good sign for me. And we can't play them all, and some are going to have to go out on loan, and hopefully their career will develop and they'll have a successful career. If it's elsewhere, it's elsewhere.
I'll obviously bring Steve in, and Rohan obviously get their word in as well. But Steve, start with you. What have you got to add to the conversation and your thoughts on the season ahead and pre-season so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think Richard's right. I mean, we've got a lot of young players that could potentially come into the side, but we all want results every week, don't we? And I think you can't have too many young players in the side. If you've got to get 3 points every week, obviously we have. And these players need to play. So the loan option is the only option for them, really. But having said that, the senior players have to perform. You've got to have players behind them. We've got a lot of first team players that, in my opinion, didn't perform enough last season. When that happens, you'd rather think, well, let's bring a younger player in who's got that desire for the club, wants to play for the badge. He's not there for the salary. He's there for, you probably saw, Smith Rowe's interview about he's playing for the badge. He wants to be a legend. He wants to be, he wants to be a one club player.
One club man and all
that. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what you want, and that's what the young players give you. They give you that desire. We saw last season when we had an influx of younger players, how the energy level goes up. They're all fighting for their places. And I think we've got enough young players coming through. Obviously, we've got Smith Rowe, we've got Saka. Balogun, is he going to play? Nketiah, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Aubameyang, a lot's been said about Aubameyang's form, and for me, he's got to start scoring goals. It's simple as that. He's in the team for really one reason, to score goals. And last season, we had that 9-game run whereby if we'd have won a couple of those games, we'd have had a completely different end of the season, wouldn't we? We only missed out on Europe by 2 or 3 points. And those points were lost in that period pre-Christmas. I think, if you look at since Christmas, we were, top 3, top 4 in terms of form and goals conceded. So if we don't score goals, then we're never going to win enough games. And so, the senior players need to perform. We need to have the young players coming through. But unfortunately, they're not all going to get in the side. And that's just fact of life, really, unfortunately. And some will move on to other clubs eventually.
Yeah.
Historically, we've always had great young players, but for whatever reason, they've had to go elsewhere to play the game.
Yeah.
But that's not just us. That's most Premier League clubs. They won't. I mean, how many academy players have Man City got in their side?
Phil Foden. That's about it, isn't it?
Literally him.
That's about it, isn't it? So you look at that and you look at Man United,
exactly.
and Liverpool,
Chelsea
and
as well.
Chelsea.
Chelsea have
How
got
many
Reece
players did
James.
Chelsea have out on loan? Was it about something like 20 odd players out on
Yeah,
loan or something?
Yeah, at least 20 plus. Yeah.
So we're no different, and you know it's a very important thing, the Premier League. You've got to get it right, and unfortunately, young players won't all make it.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Adam in the chat saying, "Evening, all he's still being positive for now, as he refuses to believe there won't be some decent incomings." But it says, "I can't see this happening until we shift some of the deadwood."
Yeah.
But this is the thing. This is the thing we're struck with, not just this summer, but over the last few years. We are struggling to get rid of what we call the dead wood because they're performing that poor at Arsenal, and because Arsenal has such a big name, the other clubs and potential clubs that want to buy these players are thinking, if you can't do it there, why do you want to spend the money, bring it in? And there's also the ones that do take the ones that do sort of take the risk. The players don't want to take a wage cut, so that screws things up as well. I mean, Willian went to go to Inter Miami this summer, and then he wouldn't take a wage cut apparently.
I think back in the day, other clubs were all over our players all the time, weren't they? They wanted to take our players, whereas now we can't give them away.
No.
Certain players, I mean, obviously if you put Saka up for sale, he'd go, but Xhaka and all these other players, nobody wants them. Certainly not at the wages they're on.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's just bad management decisions at the club. I don't necessarily mean team management decisions, but management of the club. And these have been bad decisions that have gone on for years. And this is the end result, isn't it? We're stuck with players on big wages, big contracts that we can't shift. And as a result of that, we can't get in the new recruits that we need to rebuild the squad because we haven't got the money to do it, and we don't have the space in the squad unless we get rid of people that we can't get rid of. So it's a bit of a catch-22 situation, isn't it? We haven't sold anyone, really, have we? The players that we've got rid of, we've ripped up their contracts. That's how we've got rid of them. We can't get rid of our players. No one wants them. And sometimes I think, you can understand why. And other times you think, why? Why wouldn't anybody have wanted to pay decent money for Mesut Ozil when on his day he's a great football player? And yes, it wasn't working out for him at Arsenal. He needed to go. But someone there surely would have thought, you know what? We know what quality he's got. But it doesn't seem like it. I mean, he's gone and it hasn't really worked for him so far. I mean, maybe people were right not to want him. You just don't know what goes on. And I don't know. I just feel as though the problems, this was building up maybe over the recent years, and now it's all come together all at one time, and suddenly we're in this mess. We can't get rid of players, we can't subsequently buy the players we need, and we're dropping further and further away from where we need to be. And it's a combination of all those things put together, and it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. If we can't get 20 million for Xhaka, who had a great Euros, what chance have we got of getting any money for Willian? What chance have we got of getting any money for half the other players that aren't performing as well as Xhaka has? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How are we going to get Kolasinac? How are we going to get rid of players like that? Well, we will have to basically give them away. Give them away.
Nobody's spoke
yeah, exactly. It's another one. Yeah, what's happening with him? He's a good player.
Again, no one wants him.
Yeah, I mean, we've had to loan Guendouzi out because no one would buy him. Do you know what I mean? It's Mavropanos, we've loaned him out. We could have sold him. We don't need him now, do we? With Ben White coming in, we've got about 500 centre backs. So surely we should be looking at selling him, getting some money in. That's what we should be doing. We should be looking at selling these players, not necessarily like I'd have sold Guendouzi. I'm sure someone would have bought him. We only paid about 12 million for him, didn't we? So we could have recouped that, surely. I just think the way our transfers are being run, it's bad, and it's putting us in a position now where we can't rebuild because we're basically hamstrung with all these players that we can't get rid of, and it's terrible. It's a terrible state that we're in, and unfortunately, it's not going to be solved overnight.
Well, what doesn't help Arteta and Edu and Arsenal as a whole is the play. Like last summer, for example, the players we could have got. Rob Holding was almost at the door, even though it's a loan. It was almost at the door to Newcastle. Ainsley Maitland-Niles last minute after playing in the Community Shield changed his mind. He's done at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And then twice since he's come in, Granit Xhaka has been on the verge of going to another club, and at the last minute he changes his mind again. They change their mind again. They're too indecisive in what they actually want and who they want. And that's not helping things either. That's sending so many mixed messages. It's messing up the camp as well. And as I said, we're literally on Wednesday, literally 9 days away from us opening the season up on a Friday night, on Friday the 13th, away to Brentford, which will be difficult to, not just because it's obviously an opening game, but it's Brentford at the new stadium, the first time they have their full capacity as well. And it's their first debut in the Premier League. And we saw last season when Leeds came up after 16, 17 years out against Liverpool. It was at Anfield, no fans, and look what they did there. They almost took a point away from Liverpool, the champions back game. So
I mean, I could see us almost starting the first game of the season with the same team that finished the last game of the season.
yeah,
You know, not
Yeah,
far
you will,
apart
yeah.
Ben White,
we've got
Graham and
yeah,
Play. You could be looking at El Neni and Xhaka in the centre of midfield.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's something
Whether
that's
Saka
impressive.
might play, maybe
Yeah.
Saka won't be ready to play. Martinelli won't be ready to play, probably.
No.
So, who are we going to have? You know, same as we
Well,
finished last. No, there's goalkeepers. We haven't signed a goalkeeper, so there's no backup to Leno at the moment, is there?
And there's another issue they've got to deal with in the next 3.5 weeks or 4 weeks. They've got to deal with that because if Leno gets injured, our backup is Van Arsene at the moment, and because I mean, nobody even wants him. He was almost at the door this summer, and again, apparently finances.
I thought he'd gone.
Yeah,
I thought he'd gone, but apparently he hadn't.
I thought he's gone, yeah. And then suddenly he turns up playing in a friendly. It's like, what's going on here? What are we doing? We can't even get rid of him. We can't get rid of anyone.
that's how bad things are at Arsenal at the moment. I'm bringing Rowan because he's been very patient over 20 minutes just listening to us all gas bag. Rowan, what are your thoughts on that? What's your intake on all this?
Like I'm currently like okay with loaning players, like the younger ones, but I don't understand why they are loaning to the leagues that don't suit our gameplay. Like they just loaned Harry Clark to Ross County. I don't even knew that team before Harry Clark went, and he had such a great game in the first one against against the Hibs. So he should have like he had last season also he had a great season again. Last season also had a great season on loan. So he should have at least been promoted to a loan team in the League One or the Championship even. And then again, like if we really want to play Saliba at the club, then we should have been looking to loan him at either a Premier League club or even a Championship one. For the Saliba situation, I think it was handled very badly by the club from the start. If they wanted the player, then they shouldn't have agreed to loan him out. Like Leicester did with Fofana, they wanted him. No matter what his age was, they started playing him when he came. So the class and the situation was handled from the badly from the start, and it's going down badly. And I don't think he'll ever make it. Most probably, if he does well at Marseille, then Marseille are gonna buy him from us next year. As for Mavropanos, I think he had a good season at Stuttgart. The main problem has his injuries. He's on loan with obligation to buy for 7 million. I don't know how Chelsea do it with their players selling the younger ones for 23, 25 million. But we are getting the 7 million for a player who had a great season for Stuttgart. He almost got him into Europe. For the transfer window, like currently, I think they are targeting the right players, but they are just not able to get rid of the deadwood. Even for say Xhaka, who had a great season, Roma want just 12, 15 million, while Chelsea and other clubs are spending on their B players like over 20, 25 million. So Xhaka wasn't going to sell for 12, 15, and like getting in a contract is currently good because if we say let's have a good season this year, then we can look for to sell it. For the center midfield option for the first game, I think if Arteta starts Lukanga against Spurs on Sunday, and we could see him on versus Brentford on Friday. Otherwise, I think we are going to look at El Neni's back passes all day.
Oh, don't. That stressed me out for the weekend if I've begun. I've got to listen or not listen. Watch El Neni and Xhaka in the midfield, sideways, backwards FC, especially El Neni. Jesus Christ! So I'm really, have we actually heard anything from the party situation? Because we've seen photos of him standing up perfectly fine and all that, but actually the club hasn't said anything, have they?
I think it's 1 or 2 games, isn't it? I think it's an ankle injury.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, the party is, previous club, he hardly ever get injured. He comes to us.
He comes to Arsenal. He's always injured.
And they're not simple injuries, are they? I mean, he's a great player, but I mean, he needs to string 10 games together, doesn't he? and get a partnership.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, and one day he will
Tierney
score.
as well.
He's
Tierney,
getting closer.
Yeah.
He's getting closer to scoring, isn't he? I mean, he's not frightened of having a shot, but they are getting closer.
I mean, one of the issues
this pre-season so far, they're actually staying on the ground.
Yeah, no, he's looking a lot better, but he's obviously injured. That's not ideal. I mean, one of the biggest issues that I think that we've got is when you look at the players that we've brought in since Arteta's been in charge, that not many of them have really worked out, have they? I mean, the 3 new guys, we're going to have to wait and see. It's too early to judge them on a couple of friendlies. But some of the others, I mean, Willian, Renarsson, these players have come in, obviously, under Arteta. Cedric was full-time. He hasn't really played enough. Mari's jury's out on him a little bit still. Partey, he's not played because of injury much. He hasn't settled in yet. And all these players that, you know, Gabriel, the jury's still out on Gabriel for me. He had a good start and then faded the second half of last season, so he's injured at the moment as well. You know, so I'm a little bit concerned that the players that we've brought in, that if these are players Arteta's wanted, they haven't really worked out yet, have they? And you know, that's a concern for me. But when you look at, you know, when, for example, if we go back to the 2 previous managers that spent any length of time at the club, George Graham and Arsene Wenger, one of the big things was that their early signings that they brought in transformed the team, didn't they? You know, obviously Arsene Wenger, the French guys that we know clearly about, and then obviously George Graham, although he took his time to buy players, really, didn't he? It only Perry Groves at the beginning, but then he brought in the famous back 5 and all those players that he brought in transformed the club straight away. And unfortunately, with Arteta, all the players that he's brought in have taken us backwards. And that's a concern for me. And if Edu's more involved than Arteta is, and that's even more of a worry, isn't it? Because he's been there the same amount of time doing that job, and it's not worked out. The players have not. I mean, Willian's probably the biggest example, but Renarsson as well. I mean, why did we buy a goalkeeper like Renarsson, who I've seen better goalkeepers playing on a Sunday league? It's madness. You know, and that's not the only one, is it? I say none of them really worked out very well yet. Let's hope that Ben White breaks that trend, and Lokonga, I've got hopes for him, what I've seen so far. So, but that's a real big worry for me. And it seems as well, some of the players that were performing quite well before Arteta came in, Aubameyang as an example, seem to have gone backwards. It's only really Granit Xhaka, I think, that's actually played better under Arteta than the players that were already there before. Most of them seem to have gone backwards. It's only really Granit Xhaka, I think, that's had a bit more consistent performances. Kieran Tierney, I know he was there before. He was injured, and he's obviously played a lot more under Arteta, and he's obviously come on as well, and you know, one of our top performers. But he wasn't really playing that much before, was he, because of his injuries and stuff. So, you know, it's only really, then you look at the young players. Obviously, Smith Rowe and Saka have both come in more. I don't know, they played under Unai Emery, didn't they? But they've come on, developed under Arteta, so that's a good sign. And maybe, I mean, Martinelli's gone backwards, but maybe it's a sign that Arteta can deal with younger players better than he can deal with the more experienced players. Maybe that's something, and that's maybe why we're buying younger players. But let's hope that they turn out to be able to be good enough to take us back to where we want to be. Because at the moment, I've got massive concerns with where we're going, even with the players that we're buying. I don't think we're going to be buying. I know Adam said in the chat there, didn't he? He thinks we're still going to do some business. I'm not sure if we're going to buy any proper first team players that's going to improve the first team. We may buy a young player or two in the squad, maybe. I can't see us buying 1 or 2 first team players that's going to improve the team. I just can't see it happening in the next 2 weeks. Certainly not before the Brentford game. And I'll be surprised if we do afterwards as well. You know, all this talk of like Maddison and Grealish, I know Grealish is going elsewhere, but that was just ridiculous. There was no way we were going to buy Grealish. Absolutely no chance. You know, I'll be amazed if we buy Maddison. Actually, I don't really want us to buy Maddison, if I'm totally honest. But I'll be surprised if we do. I really would. But we'll see what happens. But I just can see we're not going in the right direction. The fact he's offering Bellerin, or talking about offering Bellerin a new contract, that's a worry. Surely we can sell it and get someone better, surely. And, you know,
he seems to prefer Chambers at the moment at right back, doesn't he? He seems to be.
Exactly, and Chambers isn't even a right back, is he? He's a centre back by trade.
That's worrying, isn't it? That's like you're playing a centre back or right back because you're not confident in your 2 right backs.
So buy a right back then. Buy a new right
Buy a
back.
right
You know
back.
what I
If
mean?
you can't sell the 2 or the 3 you've got,
Well,
you're
yeah,
stuck,
but
aren't you? And that's the
it's-
same
it's-
with the whole team.
yeah.
You know, buying £60 million players, okay. If you don't sell 3 or 4 players to fund that, which we can't do
Yeah.
at the moment for whatever reason,
No.
we're never going to, we're not going to suddenly find another 60 million after spending 50 on Ben White
No, of course we're
and
not. Of course,
Makonga and Tavares, and it's not going to
of
happen.
course
is
we're
it?
not. No, of course it's not going to happen. And this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem that we've got. You know, it's all very well all these people saying, "Oh, we're interested in this player, we're interested in that player." Yeah, we may well be interested in them, but in reality, we don't have the money, do we? Unless we can shift out 5 or 6 or 7 players out of the squad, release the wages, and then we may be able to do something. But we can't even do that because no one wants them, as we said. And also, even the ones that we should be looking at selling, it seems as though Arteta wants to keep them. So I can't see what the plan is. You know, yes, we're buying some younger players, and that's probably a good sign if they can become the players that we need. But I can't see what direction we're going in, because at the moment, the way I see it is we're going to do well to finish 8th this coming season unless there's some magic happens in the next 2 weeks in the transfer market, ins and outs, which I can't see. I'll be amazed if we start the season much different to what we are now. Maybe one player in, maybe, and I can't see it being much different, and that worries me.
It's a scary position. There, you're in a position whereby you've got to move 6 or 7 players out of the club in the next 3 weeks.
To buy
And
2, maybe.
We've had how many months have we had to do that?
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's just there's no movement at all. And we go into the new season with a new, Ben White. Ben White picks up an injury after the first couple of weeks and he's out for 3, a month. Where are we then?
We've been exactly the same squad as last season, weren't we?
Saka's, touch wood, he's been pretty injury free, and if he picks up an injury, or Pepe picks up an injury, who's behind them? Reece Nelson. I really like Reece Nelson, but unfortunately he's gone backwards completely.
He's not played, has he? That's why.
We should never have bought Willian. I mean, why do we keep buying over the hill Chelsea players? I mean, it's we had it with Czech, we had it with Luis to a degree, we've had it with now Willian. It's we don't need to be doing that. Sure, well, we're obviously doing it because we're paying them big money, but why? I mean, Willian is what?
Yeah.
What's he actually done? Since he plays in virtually every other week. Nothing. Get nothing from him. I think
you imagine the wages that we spent on Willian the last year, that could have gone on buying a player that would have improved the team, couldn't it? Realistically, in a transfer fee, certainly. And it's just what's going on at the club. What is going on? If Edu's running the show, then he needs seriously to be had a word with, because I don't see anybody at the club. We keep hearing this trust the process, but how can anyone at the club be happy with the direction that we're going in, with the business that we're doing in the transfer? Anybody look at this and say this is a good plan and we're going in the right direction? Because there's no evidence to back that up, is there? Not one bit of evidence, not on the pitch, or it doesn't even seem like off the pitch either. We're in a bit of this is, to me, a big, massive season for us, because if we don't make it into Europe again next season, that's serious problems. That is certainly financially as well. And I just fear that what's going to happen to us if we aren't. We have to get in Europe this season somehow, whether it's winning a cup or in the top 6 in the league. And at the moment, I'm worried that we're not going to be able to do that. And that would be a massive, as things stand at the moment. Yes, we've got 2 weeks left of the window, and let's see what that brings. But I can't see, there's players moving already, that players that really Arsenal, these are sort of players that Arsenal should be. Danny Ings has just moved, hasn't he, to Aston Villa?
Yeah,
he's a sort of player that Arsenal, a few years ago, we would have bought a player like that, no problem. Now, we're not even interested in him. Why? He's a player that would improve as a goal scorer, which is what we need, a Premier League goal scorer. We don't, that's the one area, as we said before, we're not scoring enough goals, and he can score goals. It wasn't a massive amount of money, I don't believe. So why aren't we looking at deals like that? I don't know what's going on. I just can't get my head around it at all. And it's a big, massive concern. All these people saying, "Oh yeah, we're excited for the season because we've bought 2 young players that may or may not be any good when it comes down to it, and we spent 50 million on a centre back we maybe didn't really need, but good player as I'm sure he's going to be." And that's it. I can't be excited about that at this moment in time, because we haven't really improved enough for what we need to progress the team from where we finished the last 2 seasons, have we? We just haven't done it.
Well, like I say, we're ending up starting the season with the same team we finished, pretty much. And that was underperforming. So,
Yeah, and with one or two injuries, like you said, with one or two injuries, we are in trouble. We are seriously in trouble. If one or two key, like you said, Saka. If Saka was injured for a while, Partey, if he's out for longer than we expect, if Ben White, heaven forbid, he gets injured, as you said, what are we gonna do?
What we're gonna do for Smith Rowe? Who's your number 10 backup with Smith Rowe? Assuming he's going to start with Smith Rowe as the number 10. If he gets injured, who's your next number 10? Willian?
We haven't got one. No, we haven't got one. That's probably why we're interested in, or maybe we're apparently interested in Maddison and getting Ødegaard back, because we do need backup, or we do need an extra body as a number 10 who can play number 10, don't we? So, that's an area we need to look at. We need another goalkeeper. We need a proper decent right back. We need. I think we need another midfield player, because Lokonga, is he ready straight away for the Premier League? I'm not sure. He could end up being another Patrick Vieira and
Lokonga and El Neni, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I would. I certainly would. Yeah. Got nothing to lose.
Not overly convinced on Ødegaard. I mean, he didn't really pull up any trees, did he? I mean, he looked quite neat and tidy on the ball, but did he create a lot? Not really. He's obviously a good young player, but I don't think he really warrants paying 40-50 million for him if they want to sell him.
I think it's around 30 million. Yeah,
about 30. I think it is. Yeah, I think we could get him for 30 million, maybe, which wouldn't be a bad deal, actually, would it? I don't think, for Ødegaard, because he knows the club, he knows the players, he's played in the Premier League, he understands what's needed. And yeah, I agree, he didn't exactly set the world on fire, but you could see he's got something about him. And I think, given time to develop, I think he could be a good player for us. And it's not a massive amount of money for that sort of player, is it? If it's 30 million for a number 10, who's he's 22 years old, is he? Ødegaard, he's not very old. Yeah. So
maybe if we sign him as a permanent player, that'll give him a different outlook to being just here for a few months on loan. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but Real want him. Real want to include a buyback clause. Real want to include a buyback clause inside that, like 35 plus a buyback clause, which obviously we should not need that, because then Real will come any year and buy him back when he's playing very well in the Premier League. And for the bad transfer, I'd put the blame on Edu, because he got in, he fired all the scouts, he put in the new, the agent business, he got in the AI through the scouting through AI, which obviously is not working, because he maybe scouted Willian through AI and plus the agent. And with AI, obviously, Willian was scoring well and assisting well for Chelsea the season before we signed him. So maybe he signed him because of that, but that obviously hasn't worked out. And same thing for the Narsson. I think Inaki, the goalkeeping coach, has put in a good word for him, and that's why we signed him. Maybe also the AI also had a word on him. So I don't think the system of scouting players with AI is very good, because like Arsene did that. He did it with so many scouts, and that worked for us so well. We found so many hidden gems that we didn't know. And just like that, Henry helped us sign Sambi. We obviously didn't know also who was Sambi Lokanga till a year back or something. Henry helped us do that, while Edu is here focusing on his AI and all that. And agent business, I just read Kai, the agent, super agent Kai, is looking to get either Coutinho or Edu or Dento at Arsenal. He wants at least one of his players at Arsenal, and he's looking to get either of them. With both of them, I don't think so we'll need them. Onana is obviously a very good deal if we are going to get him for 6. He just pulled out of the Lyon deal because some other clubs are interested. Presumably it's Inter, because they want him to be the number 1. But maybe, hopefully, Edu and Arteta have got their mind in place after seeing Leno's errors against Chelsea last week. So hopefully we'll go for Onana. But the only thing I don't like is that we will still be without a backup till November, because he can't play till November.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Because he can't play till January, is that right? He can start training in November.
He could,
can't play.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Is it December he can play? Maybe.
No,
December he can train, isn't it? And December he can play.
End of October, so the 1st of November onwards.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He can actually play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got his
Yeah.
playing reduced and all that. Yeah, but going back to what Rohan said about the scouting system as well, because obviously, as you know, Rich, we've had James before and Melvin and know as well. And recently, James said he spoke to one of the previous scouts that was let off back in last season. 2 weeks prior to that, they were given brand new contracts, signing new contracts. So there's even that they don't know. So there's another thing that's not helping Arsenal is that they don't know what blueprint to go with. The scouting system that worked predominantly under Wenger in the early years and all that system, or this new stat DNA, Ivan Gazidis, whatever we're going with now, because now here back into last season that they've got to start rehiring new scouts and all that. I'm like, well, hang on, you've just spinned them off and started this new system. A few months later, you've now been in that system off. Just settle, pick a system, give it an 18-month period, at least 18 months, and then reassess things. Don't just because that's going to screw up the playing system as well. Because you're then buying players from one side of things, one blueprint, and another mix, and you're mixing it all together. They're not going to work, especially under the regime that we've got, because we've got an owner that doesn't really give a shit. Because this is a difference. Because I think someone mentioned it earlier by Liverpool. The reason they can get so much money, like £30 million for a player that hasn't even played a Premier League game. 30 million was it to Bournemouth? £30 million twice. 24 million for Brewster to Sheffield United. Yeah. It's because because the owners to a degree do give a shit, and they hire the right people in place to deal with the transfers, to deal with that, and haggle and get the best price of what they can get. We've just got Edu in charge, and I don't know who the team around him, but it's just like, because he's an ex-legend, it might work out. I've been saying for the last year plus, Mark Overmars, the guy is proven in European football in his profession. We've got a rookie as it stands in that profession, learning the trade. We've got a rookie in a manager position, learning his trade. If you want the rookie manager, fine, that's fair enough. But you need to have someone. You need to have someone in the director of football era that knows what he's doing. And Edu Saudi, I'm sorry, he's a great player for us. He's part of our obviously a golden generation for us in the early 2000s. But he's not good enough at the moment. He needs either someone alongside him to like an Overmars, or Overmars just be there on his own. Because Overmars knows what he's doing. He knows the European market. All Edu seems to want to do when it comes to him being involved in the transfers is buying these Brazilian players, like Woodian, for example, Martinelli. Obviously, we all love Martinelli and all that. Pablo Mari, or players that are currently playing in Brazil. It's like he just knows one market, whereas Overmars knows a vast market, and his work in the academy as well has been fucking fantastic. Not just at Ajax, at his previous club as well. And I don't see why. And again, he's an ex-Arsenal player, but he knows what he's doing. Whereas we've got a rookie that doesn't know what he's doing at the moment. He's just learning on the job. I mean, when was it that we leave the big transfers or any transfer to deadline day? When we know the situation, we knew Partey last year was there was a buyout clause all summer. We knew that, but yet we waited to the last minute.com to get it done, to trigger it. Yeah. That's never happened under any other regime up till this new regime's been put in place. And again, it comes down to the owner. I've got the owner because he's hiring these people. He's throwing his money for a salary at these people, and they're not doing what they're meant to be doing.
Do you know what? Do you know what the club reminds me of at the moment, right? Over the last few years, what it reminds me of is it reminds me of the UK government, where they're just basically doing favours for their mates behind the scenes, giving jobs to their friends and like with the agents and stuff like that, and don't care about what effect that's having on the club itself. And that's exactly what's been going on, and that's why we're in the mess that we're in, because they're not looking at what's the best. Like you said, that Liverpool have got the right people in the right roles to make the club grow, and that they've had the success that they've had on the back of it. We're just paying to agents that are friends of people running the club. So we'll buy their players because it's his agent. So we'll just do that. And we're buying that. You know, when was it the president of Lyon or something, when he was best friends with Raul, wasn't he? So we were doing deals with Lyon because them two were friends. It's like, what are you doing? Look, you've got to stop that, and we've got to get people in that actually want to be successful and then know what they're doing to make Arsenal be successful. And if it's people from outside that just know the role and aren't going to be persuaded and swayed by other issues like that, then we win. And to me, we're making loads and loads of changes, and they're not the right changes, are they? They're taking us in a completely different direction to where we need to be going. And that's, is that from the owners only? They're responsible for the people that are employed, I guess. I think there's a little bit more to it than that. I don't know what's going on. Something seems to be going on where the club is being hijacked almost, and people are in the jobs making the big decisions. They're in it for themselves as opposed to in it for the benefit of the club. And I know sometimes, when you pay big money, there's always that kind of possibility with every job at football club now. But you need people that are more interested in being successful, making a club successful, than they are about lining their pockets because they can get a better deal by buying a crap player somewhere else because it's a better deal for them and they've got more money in their back pocket on the back of it. And that seems to be what's happening. And that seems to be where we're going and where we've been heading. And the people that's Sven Mislintat, right? I thought he was a good appointment for the club, actually. They soon got rid of him, didn't they? Was it because he was doing a proper job? He was actually looking to make us successful. Oh, we better get rid of him then. You're too good, mate. We're getting rid of you straight away.
Yeah, well,
I think the thing with him. I think, it's all right saying we'll trust the process, but nobody knows what the process is.
No.
Because all you've got is players not going, new players coming in, backroom staff coming and going, coming out with different measures. If you've got a process and you're in a business, everybody knows what that process is. And it's easy for us to follow because you can see it. But the thing is, we can't see what they're doing. We haven't got a clue because one minute they're putting players out, they can't sell players, players that we thought were going to come in and, be the director of football or, whatever. And the thing is, the game is littered with great players that didn't make good managers or, directors. They're very few and far between, and Edu might not be the right man. It's quite obvious. If he's based purely on his performance in buying and selling players, he's the wrong man, isn't he?
Yeah, but you look at it though, right? And we've made, we're talking about a process. If we had a process that was clear, we wouldn't be making constant changes behind the scenes, changing the scouting system in the middle of the process. We wouldn't be changing all these things behind the scenes. The process is what the process is. We start here and this is where we go. And if you're sticking with a process, you stick with it and make it work, or it doesn't work and then you completely reset. But what we're doing is you
started that process at the start of last season, don't you? Not the start of this season.
Yeah.
This season's process.
Yeah, but it's not a process at all, is it? What it is it's just a load of stuff that people don't know what they're doing and they're just winging it. And that seems to be what the process is. And unfortunately, we're suffering on the pitch, which is the worst thing that could have happened at this time with the money at the top of the game. And we are suffering on the back of that, aren't we? Because we've been running to the ground.
We've been poorly run for the last 5 years, haven't we, really?
At least, yeah.
But, really back end of Wenger's reign, Emery's reign, start of Arteta's reign, there's not been any clear direction, focus. Emery used to change the team every week. He'd bring players in, push players out. Arteta's, he's trying. You can see he's trying, but he's trying with what he's got, and what he's got isn't the best, is it? And he can't go and buy, what he wants because he can't get rid of what he inherited.
No, and it's like
here we are.
No one knows what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. It doesn't look like at the club, And I'm amazed that some of these great young players that we've got aren't seeing that, aren't looking at, Saka. I mean, he loves Arsenal and we love him, right? But you're going to think that one sooner or later, he's an intelligent boy, really intelligent boy. He's going to look around and think, what am I doing at this club? I love the club, but what am I doing here? My career is going to be wasted. He's going to see that sooner or later if he hasn't seen it already, and maybe he's trying not to think about it because he wants Arsenal to succeed. He wants to be part of it. I don't know, but surely there's going to be these young players who are at some point or other going to see that the club are not going anywhere, and if they want to really progress their career and become the players that they can become, it's going to get to the point where they're going to have to leave, and they'll know that. And then we're in real trouble if we have to, if we're getting Saka putting in a transfer request or Smith Rowe putting in a transfer request because they're not getting picked by England because Arsenal are in a mess and sitting in mid-table and not in Europe. And that's going to be a problem, isn't it? If we're not in Europe again next season, Man City will come in for an offer for Saka or somebody will, because he needs to be playing in Europe, especially if he's not always going to be a regular in the England squad because he's not in Europe playing for Arsenal, struggling in mid-table. He's probably not going to get picked for England very much, and then it's going to affect his career. And Man City come knocking on the door, he'll be off. And that's what's going to happen. And you couldn't blame him.
Same with any young player. You have a bad season next season, we end up battling to stay in the top half. Come the end of the season, we get knocked out of the cups, and then suddenly we've got a mid-table battle with the Villas, the Wolves, the West Hams, and all those sorts of clubs. You think well, we're no better than them, really, are we?
No.
We're not top six. We're not top six. We used to be always top four. Now we're not even top six. Where we are right now.
Yeah, and I mean,
to make us top four, is it? Nothing's changed in the transfer window.
And there's only so much. There's only so much that the young players, their love of the club, it can only take them so far, and eventually they're going to think my career is getting threatened by staying, and they'll end up because they'll be snapped up because they're great players, aren't they? So, and that's a big worry. Unless we can turn this around and start to challenge again, even if it's only challenging for the top four or challenging for something. I fear that the young players won't hang around as much as they love the club. They just won't, because their career will be, Saka can go to the very top, Carly. We know he can. He can be a regular player for England every single game. He can be one of the top players in Europe. But if he stays at Arsenal in mid-table, not in European competition, that's going to stop him developing, isn't it? It's going to hold him back. And he's going to know that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
He won't, he can do it for a year, you can do it for 2 years maybe, and then you've got to start to think when he gets to like 21, we're still in this situation, then he's going to start thinking to himself, you know what, as much as I love Arsenal, it's not helping my career at all. And that is a worrying sign. We've got all these great young players, but they'd be no good if they all have to leave to get where they want to be in their career.
You get the agents whispering in his ear, where you've had 2 years in the you've struggled. I can get you a deal to a top club. You'll get 250, 300 grand a week. You'll challenge
playing in Europe
every season. Playing in Europe. Blah blah blah. Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
that's where you are with young players, isn't it? Once they become very prominent young players and not just average young players, top end young players, they'll get enticed away, won't they? If we were winning trophies, of course not. Maybe not.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about that, isn't it?
People don't know they can't play every game. He can't play 46 games in a season, can he?
No.
He's going to have to have young players can't play at a high level for a whole season, can they? They have dips.
No. Of course they do.
So
I mean, Saka had dips, didn't he, last season? Let's be fair. As good as he was, he still had dips, didn't he? And Smith Rowe as well. I know he only played half a season in the end, but even he had sort of dips here and there, didn't he? So it happens. Of course it does. And that's the way it is. But if you're at a club with maybe a stronger squad around you, your dips can not really have so much of an impact because other players will step up and fill in when you're maybe off form. Where we haven't really got that, did we? I mean, Saka. Saka.
You see William warming up on the bench, you don't feel confident.
Exactly. So if Saka thinks, well, I'm going to have to keep playing because if I don't play, we're going to get William
coming on.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care if I'm injured. I'm staying on because that's what you're going to have to do. But Saka can't be expected to pull this team through, and Smith Rowe as well. They can't be expected this coming season to drag the team through, can they? They can't.
No, this is the thing I said in a group chat, Richard, the other day. As you know, I was saying literally, in any other club, any other team in Europe, not just Premier League, in Europe, when a new player comes in, they look to the experienced players. You have Aubameyangs, Lacazette's, for example, here, Xhaka's and all that, to lean on, to guide them, help them blend in, basically. Whereas you come to Arsenal now, actually it's not Demi. You're leaning on. Actually, it's youngsters. It's Saka and Smith Rowe. The lots of them, which is actually, if you think about it, it's going to stunt their development even more, make it even a bit slower because they've got more weight put on them. I mean, it's fantastic. It shows fantastic mentality and it shows how brilliant their ability is that they can mentally hack that. but it shouldn't have to hack that. And like Alex from the Cannon for the TV says in the chat on the screen here, says it will take a ruthless manager and a ruthless owner to give this club a serious overhaul and change in culture. This is the thing. Since Stan Kroenke became the majority shareholder, and then after a few years ago became the full owner, this is what we're seeing now has been coming. There's no doubt about it. When we fell out that season, we fell out the Champions League in 2017. The day it happened, I said, "This is like 7 years in the making." You could see the digression coming. And the thing is, you would have thought that'd be the wake up call, and they thought, "Nah, we'll keep going and keep." And because obviously, what was it? Leicester won the league the year before, the way they did. Oh, if it can happen to them, we can do that as well. We can win a title on a shoestring budget and this that. Not the case. This ain't. No, with all due respect, 89 or the early 90s and the 2000s and all that, where it was just like a couple of teams. We didn't have Man City run by a country, Chelsea with the Odegaard, Man United obviously being Man United what they are. We didn't have that. It was just us and United basically competing, all the others, and because of that, because of the Odegaard and the Dubai money with Man City, it's made the Premier League so saturated because now the Premier League itself are then flooded all the other clubs with all this money. So we're having to pay 50 million for the likes of Ben White because there's now a Premier League premium and obviously international premium. And
he's English.
Yeah, it's because the likes of Brighton. This is what I've been saying for the last few weeks. The likes of Brighton years ago, 15, 16 years ago, if we wanted one of their players, we'd just go, okay, we know the position you're in, so we're going to take the piss, and we'll offer them like 15, 20 million, no more than that. And we because we were Arsenal, they didn't have the financial backing from the league and the rewards and this, that, and the other, and the TV money. They bent the knee straight away, and the business was done. Whereas it's not like that anymore. But we're acting like that. But the way the club is being run, it's acting like that is still the case. I mean, the reason why the previous, obviously, regime sold their shares to Kroenke over Usmanov was because Usmanov wanted to buy the shares and remodernise Arsenal into the modern era of what Chelsea were doing and all that. And that the previous lot didn't want to do that. And obviously, Kroenke said all the right things. He said, "Oh no, I'll stand by what you've done and this, that, and the other. I'll continue that." And obviously, he's continued that, but to the extent where it's now hurting the club itself in the performances because we're now dropping down the league like a sack of potatoes, basically, to put it politely. And the fact of the matter is, when we're in the worst position we've been in since before I was born, it's the worst position I've seen Arsenal win in my lifetime. And literally, this owner's response is, "Oh no, don't get a experienced man experienced people, a manager and all that at the helm to help guide us through this difficult period and bring us on a bit quicker. Oh no, I'm going to go for the cheap and cheerful and go for the rookie." With all due respect to Arteta, he shouldn't be coming to learn his trade at Arsenal. He should be going to somewhere else, learn his trade there, build his confidence up somewhere else first. Then, if he's good enough, come to Arsenal. Why is it deemed okay for us to be basically a training team for him? Because that's what it seems like. Because he was cheap and cheerful, because he's not got experience, he's cheap and cheerful, we'll go for him. I mean, we had the worst season. What was it? 13 defeats in the league 12 or 13 league defeats last season, and we're losing. We're losing. Was it Burnley back to back, Villa back to back, Leicester at home for the first time? Records were being broken for all the wrong reasons, and what was it back in that period when we were for a month and a half between November 1st and the Boxing Day? Eddie's telling the Arsenal fans all to piss off. We don't know football, basically. We should trust in winning. We should trust in Arteta and all that. I'm like, hang on. Even though we're not going to the games, we're still paying, in the normal circumstances, still paying hard-earned money to come and see you. We're still paying extortionate rates for new shirts every fucking year, which is ridiculous. I mean, as I've been saying, shirts about 15, 16 years ago were 35 quid when they came out, and they lasted 2-3 seasons. Whereas now it's every season 3 new kits, and you've got the option. You've got your If you're an athlete and you're the shape of a footballer, £100 you can have for a shirt, 65 for a plain shirt, a normal shirt. Or if you want a number on the back, it's 80. A player's name or your own name on the back, 85 quid. And it's like,
I must admit,
how much training gear did we see last year come out whilst we're going through the shit that we're going through?
I'm sick and tired of Arsenal on Twitter when they announce something. It's literally just advert. It's an advert for a new kit or it's an advert for a new top. Yeah, it's literally ridiculous. Arsenal should be there. Their social media should be there to inform us of news that's happening at the club, not to just constantly batter our heads with new this and new that. This new top. Click on this link, takes you to buy the new top for 300 quid. It's like, no, that's not what your job is. You should have a commercial department separate to your social media page to sell your gear and leave your social media for giving us the news about what's going on at the club. That's what they should be doing. It's typical. It's just American, isn't it? We've got an American owner and we've become an Americanized business.
Franchise.
And you can see it from top to bottom, and that's basically what it is. And I don't like it. It's not the club I fell in love with. It's not the club I've followed my whole life. It's a different club now to what it was, and it's a club I don't like. And they've got to do some serious work to change my mind. And not just me. There'll be loads of people out there the same that. As someone said there, same old Arsenal. What do they mean by that, though? Because it's not the same old Arsenal. The same old Arsenal, even when we were crap on the pitch, we were still Arsenal. We were still classy. We were still that class above everybody else. This Arsenal is a new Arsenal, and it's not a particularly nice Arsenal. So, same old Arsenal. I don't know what that means anymore. We used to know what it meant. The same old Arsenal we were, and regardless of whether we won or lost the game, made no difference. We were still Arsenal. And we're not anymore. We've lost our identity. We've lost everything. So there isn't the same old Arsenal doesn't exist. It's a new Arsenal, and it's nowhere near the standards off the pitch and on the pitch that the old Arsenal had. So that's the situation that we're in, unfortunately. And this is this is where we are on the back of it now after years of the decline. You see quite clearly that Wenger was holding it all together, wasn't he? On the pitch, certainly. As soon as he's gone, the decline's been rapid. And maybe it was happening for the 4 or 5 years, 10 years before. Possibly it was. But he was managing to hold it together on the pitch, wasn't he? Keeping us in the top four, winning the odd FA Cup here and there. And suddenly he's gone, and it's like we've just dropped off the end of a cliff very quickly.
I think we just don't. We don't go and look for the best person to do the job, do we? Look at City. They went and got Guardiola. Liverpool, Klopp. Man United struggled to get. Chelsea went out and got the best manager they could, and he won the league for the season. And so on. We don't go out and do that. We'll go out, as you say, we'll go out and buy a manager that will do the job for a reasonable amount of money. Probably won't put us under too much pressure to go and spend money because he's glad to be there. You give you gave Guardiola the job at Arsenal and said to him, well, this is how much we've got. Go and win the league. Go and win the Champions League. He'd take one look at it and think, well, that ain't going to happen, is it? Because the players you've got aren't good enough, and I can't go and buy the players I want.
Budget.
And that's it. And Man City will all. I mean, they won the league at a canter last season. They're going to look like they're going to spend 100 million on Grealish. There's a fair chance they're going to go and get Harry Kane as well. And Chelsea are looking at buying Lukaku for $130 billion or whatever he's going to pay for him now. And you just think, where are we? We're not the same old Arsenal. But then again, we also want to be able to compete as well, and we're not competing on the level playing field. So, winning the league is so far away from where we were back in the 80s and even before that. We're nowhere near that. Our success is getting in the top 6 this season.
That's a good point, actually.
We may win a cup by some, we might win a cup. Great. But really, you remember for winning, people talk about legends, don't they? Where's our next legend going to come from? We've got to win a league.
Exactly.
Where are we going to win a league? Is Saka going to become a legend? He might do if he wins a league, but if we don't, then, he's a good Arsenal player. He won a few cups, but, we've got to make up our mind where we want to be, this year, next year. And this year, it's about top half, isn't it? Really?
No, I mean, you made a really good point there, Steve. Actually, when you said that, say, back in the 80s, for example, even though we wasn't doing any better on the pitch than we are now, we wasn't as far away from winning the league, was we?
No, not really.
You could see it being possible in 2 or 3 years' time at that point, because the money wasn't the same, was it? The difference in the money wasn't there, and potentially, as it proved, we got a good manager in, and he was able to win the league in 2 or 3 years. But now, I can't see us winning the league for 10, 15 years. Just can't see it. We're absolutely miles away. Man City, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, they are on a different planet to us now. And that's the reality of it. And we are not going to be able to compete for winning a league title. I can't see it again in my lifetime, if I'm totally honest. And, I hope I'm wrong. But at this moment in time, looking at it, we've never been this far away. Don't worry about points. Don't look at points and think, we were further on the 80s one season than we were last year, whatever it is. Don't look at the points. You've got to look at the situation. We are on a different planet. And we've never been this far away from being able to challenge for the league title, probably since the mid-70s when we nearly got relegated a couple of times. And that's as far away as we are now. In reality, whether we finish sixth this season or we don't, or whether we manage to squeeze into the top 5 or top 4, we're still miles away from winning the league. As far away as we
could be top 4, right? You mentioned Chelsea.
No, we're not. Probably.
Which one of those are we going to knock
miles
out
away
to get top 4? Who's going to underperform for us to get in top 4, assuming Leicester don't have a good season again?
I mean, we could.
I was about to say that.
Without Europe, we could potentially go on a run. We did finish last season well. If we took that in, it's possible we could challenge for the top 4, I suppose. But realistically, that would be a massive overperformance from us and underperformance from elsewhere, wouldn't it, for that to happen, if we're honest?
Yeah.
You'd need one of the top 4 to have a bad season, wouldn't you? You need Liverpool to fall off. I mean, Liverpool only got in on the last game of the season, didn't they? But
you need one of the top 4 to drop out. Tottenham to have a bad season. Leicester to have a bad season, and that's just us to have an absolutely phenomenal season.
Yeah, every single one of our players would have to be at their peak, overperform. And in the past, if we had a season where every win the league, now if they all overperform, and that's only if other teams fail, we might scrape top 4. That just shows where we are. That shows where our it's going to be a very long, less games, but a longer season. Definitely, it's going to feel that way, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got Mark in the chat saying City are buying Grealish, Kane, Chelsea buying Lukaku. Obviously, since we've been live, he's playing, apparently according to Sky, to take it with a bit of salt, is telling the Inter Milan if an acceptable bid comes in to accept it. So that's, again, we're after one of their players, a striker. So we need knowing that, we need to get our head out our asses there. If we really want that player from Inter Milan, go and get him now before Lukaku goes to Chelsea. Otherwise, we're going to have to offer Lacazette and money, for example, or Aubameyang and money, or both.
Yeah, but we're looking at Abraham, though, aren't we? They're looking at
that as well.
And we're
also looking at that Martin as well from Inter Milan, that we're looking at as well. But United bought Sancho and Varane. Arsenal extending Xhaka's contract.
Are we looking at them though? Are we looking at those players, or is it just speculation? I don't think we're looking at them at all. I think it's more speculation than anything. Yeah,
we're probably not looking at anybody really.
No, it'll be literally deadline. It'll be last minute. Like it was last year.
I'm not even sure.
We went from all last year, all summer. We know what they did. What I'm saying is, if they did, the PR will be, we drove this all summer. We did everything we could, but obviously last minute. I mean, Tierney, that's the worst kept secret. We wanted him, and we were interested, and we dragged that out till deadline day a couple of years back, for whatever reason. Literally, he was in a park on deadline day.
We get linked with all these top players, and then we end up signing somebody we've never heard of. Now, no disrespect to Lokonga and Tavares, but they wouldn't have been anywhere near the top of anybody's list.
No.
If you were naming players to come.
Not a team that's serious about challenging for stuff. They wouldn't have been. No.
Squad players, great, but if you want to challenge for the top, you're talking about buying Grealish. Lukaku. Why don't? Sorry, go on.
Sorry, and this is why I never, when it all went off of the Super League and Josh Kroenke, the mouthpiece of the Kroenkes, put out the BR bollocks of, this summer we're going to go big, we're going to go big on the transfers, we're going to bring a massive overhaul, improve our squad. I'm sitting there laughing because I've heard this all before for the last 7 years under the Kroenkes, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I believe it when I see it. And yet again, I hate to say it, but I've been proven right again. But this is, and because they said that after that big protest before we played Everton that night, since then every other protest that's been put in place, everyone's let's give them a chance. Let's do this. It's not the right time now. When is the right time to do a protest and then make your voice heard? Because we can't go in the stadium at the time either. You have to make your voice. So you've done one big protest. Others are in organised. And it's like, last day of the season was massive. Josh was there with obviously Vino and all that, and it was literally like 30 odd people there. So they're thinking,
all people cared about was the fact they could go to a game again. They wasn't bothered about the future of the club. Let's just go to a game again. This is what's going to happen this season. Everyone will be so excited. We can go back in the stadium again. We can give our money to Kroenke again. You know what I mean? Not thinking of the long-term benefit of the club. They're just thinking of themselves. I want to be in the stadium again. I don't really care. I don't care if I never go to a game again. And while these owners are there, I wouldn't be that bothered. It wouldn't actually bother me because the future of the club is more important than whether I go to a game or not.
And the thing is, these fan base, they're screaming at someone, buy the club, buy it, force him to sell. Someone's come along and they slag the guy off. Or he's doing it for PR, he's doing it for this. I'm like, it's so bipolar, this fan base. It actually does do my head in at times. But now, literally, because as I was about to say, because they did that on the last game of the season against Brighton, no one turned up basically. The Kroenke and all that. Well, Dad, he's on the phone. Dad, he ain't that bad. There's only 30 odd people there out of how many thousands? Yeah, it's fine. They
wouldn't be bothered if 60,000 were outside protesting. They don't care. They're really not bothered. It's not going to make any difference. People say, the protest helped get Daniel Ek involved. No, it didn't.
No.
There's nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it at all. Because the owners don't care. The owners don't care if there's thousands outside or if there's 10. They're not bothered. They don't care at all. They don't care about the club.
They don't want to sell. They don't need to sell. It's not as if he needs the money.
No, exactly.
To him, it's just another little toy on his chain of business, isn't it? So he might turn up for the odd game, and you ask him who the current first 11 is, he probably wouldn't have a clue.
No,
so then he wouldn't have a clue about a lot of his team.
Rumours going about.
He's not interested.
No.
There's rumours going about. He was at a game and he asked the person next to him, "What team's Arsenal?" He doesn't even know our colours. It was at a home game as well, so he doesn't even know our home colours. What does that tell you about the person?
Doesn't care. He doesn't care, and he's not bothered. Protests aren't going to get him out. The only thing that will get him out is if at any point he needs the money to sell. That's it. If one of his businesses goes bust or some financial things happen in his life and he needs to sell.
He wants to go up into space or something like that. Join Bezos.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's what he should do and stay there, maybe.
Launching
pad or something.
Yeah,
go out of space and stay there. Don't come back.
Wouldn't surprise me. But there was rumours apparently that he's facing legal action from the St. Louis fans, obviously St. Louis fans, the fans, and obviously the politicians of that area. Because obviously he took over St. Louis Rams, promised he would never ever take that team away from them again, take it back to LA or whatever. And when things weren't going well, and obviously the St. Louis fans were kicking off, what did he go and do? Fuck you! Took it back to LA. And the thing is, as he said, out of all the franchises he owns as well, we're the most lucrative. We are a Premier League club in London, and the name Arsenal means a lot in the world. He's literally took out loans and put us as collateral to fund a new stadium in LA.
Because I wouldn't, really care if he doesn't particularly know a lot about the club. If he was prepared to put the right people in place,
that's the thing.
Actually back the club and let the people that know the football run the club, and he just counts the pennies at the end of the month, whatever he wants to do. I don't care. I don't care if he doesn't turn up at games, but if just put the right people in control of the club that can actually do it. And if that's not Arteta,
exactly that.
But that's fine. Find the right manager, the right directors of football, whoever you want to put in place. Get the right players at the right money, and then we'll all be happy and see a bit of passion on the pitch rather than players walking about, passing backwards, and one shot on target at home in a whole game. You just think, don't want to see that.
This is what I was on about. Stan in the chat mentioned it because obviously he lives over in Vancouver, so he'll know more than what I do. But he's saying Kroenke may have to fork out $900 million in dollars for moving St. Louis Rams to back to LA, as I said. That may convince him to sell, but obviously,
Might do.
Or sell the Rams or sell Arsenal.
sell Arsenal.
Well, he might sell both, or he might sell the Rams. Yeah, that's probably what he'll do.
Yeah, just to piss us off. Yeah, get our hopes up at the last minute and go, actually,
That's
no.
probably what he'll do. Maybe we need to, instead of doing a protest against Kroenke, maybe we need to do a big mass support of Kroenke, get him on our side, and then he might think, actually, the fans love me, so I'm going to spend some money on the club, I'm going to run it properly. That's maybe what we need to do, because obviously saying we hate him so much isn't working, is it? Because he's not going to leave. In fact, he'll probably dig his heels in and stay even longer. So I think we all need to pretend we love him and have these banners outside the ground, we love Kroenke, we love Kroenke, and, do stuff like that, and maybe he'll think, I'm really loved there, I'll help them now. Maybe that's what it needs.
Maybe
Different
approach.
approach.
A couple of shirts so we know what we're playing in this season. Buy him 3 shirts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do that.
What he'd be looking at when he's watching Match of the Day or ESPN Sports or whatever it is they watch over there whenever.
Yeah, that's exactly what we should be doing. We should be showing our support of him, and then I think he might change his mind, because I think he knows no one likes him, so he thinks, I don't care.
Watching Arsenal on next. That's Liverpool. You're watching Arsenal on next. Oh, right.
Yeah, Liverpool winning 7-0, and he's like, "Oh, we're doing well, aren't we?" No, that's not Arsenal. And then Arsenal come and Arsenal lose again. All right.
Oh dear. But it's like you said about a minute ago, Steve. If obviously he doesn't know anything about football, if he had the right people in place, and this is a big pro with the Liverpool owner. He doesn't. He's admitting it publicly. He's not a big football or soccer fan, but he hires the right people to get the job done. And look where they are. They went from one extreme, obviously went through a process and all that under Brendan Rodgers, realised it wasn't going to work, outed him, brought in the next best thing for him, which was Jurgen Klopp at the time, someone we were heavily linked with as well, be the successor to Arsenal at the time. In the space of 2.5 years, they competed for Champions League, and the following season winning the Champions League and winning the Premier League title, and competing against the oil money that is Man City. And they're now considered a big club again. Whereas we're obviously just going for them. It's like he doesn't, as you say, obviously maybe because he gets the vibe from the fan, obviously the fan forms from his son and all that about obviously the fans not on their side and this. So you think, why do I bother them? Maybe that is the case, but for that to change and for the fans' perspective to change on him, he needs to do the right things, put the right things in place, and for us to then go, okay, maybe we were wrong. We do apologise. We put our hands up. We can't do that if he's not doing. If he's not willing to meet us halfway. And whilst that's happening, we've got rookies.
Yeah, I mean, all the time he's actually making money, which he obviously is. He's not bothered, is he? If he's suddenly losing money, that would be a different story, then, isn't it? But the fact he's actually making money out of successful seasons, then, well, it's a business thing for me. It's on the balance sheet. I'm making X amount of millions per year. Why am I bothered?
Stan saying there's no way. Stan saying there's no way he'll sell the Rams unless he's drawing his crown. That's the one thing he actually, out of all the franchises he actually owns, that's the one thing he actually gives a shit about. You actually see him every game and actually publicly out there.
That's his passion, isn't it? Obviously.
Yeah.
So we're not his passion, and that shows in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And this is where I go back to criticising the old regime that sold their shares to him. They must have done their history, but done their checks and seen what he was really like and this, that, and the other that we owned back in the States. Of all the two options, I know I'd rather have had. But hey, we're in the situation.
We can protest.
I know it is what it is now.
At the end of the day, we're stuck with what we've got. Fans are back in the ground. Start of the new season. Hopefully, that will give the players a lift, because now you can have fans shouting at them when they're not tracking back and so on and so on and so on. So hopefully, we'll get a bit more passion out of them than we did in Sunday last season.
Also, it was like you said as well about the money situation. Whenever things are going bad, near the end of Wenger's time, suddenly when we were having live games on TV or highlights or whatever put on TV, there's half-empty stadiums. It was only then when he acted and went, okay, you know what, Arsenal, it's time to move on. This is how we're going to do. And the same under Emery. Think of Emery, it took 2 games of empty seats for him to then get given the push. The thing is, Arteta, because of how bad last season, because cut the bullshit. Last season was a bad season, a terrible season, to our own standards, what we've been expected over the last 30 odd years. So Arteta's now with fans now back in the stadium. He's under huge pressure from our fan base straight away. So the first defeat we're going to face, you know that the knives and what are going to be out for him. Pitchforks, you name it, they're out for him. And the more pressure he's going to be under, the less seats are going to be filled. All we're going to see again is what they did under Emery. Go, okay, sorry, Arteta's off you go, sort of thing. And then we'll start again, and then we're going to spend like a month and a half trying to find a new manager during the season. And what annoyed me is that one of the managers I thought we should have gone for both times on Wenger, obviously led, and then Emery, was Allegri. It's publicly known he wanted a job. He's put it out there. He wanted to be the next manager of Arsenal, and he sat in the other both times. Second time round was harder because it's during the season. He said, "Oh, come back to me at the end of the season." But because they didn't back Ljungberg to be an interim the way they should have done, like Man United did to Volley, it didn't go to more defence, so they couldn't wait, and they had to then act in the moment at the time. So, but in the midst of all that,
Allegri's a proper manager. Allegri's a proper manager.
He wanted the job. It's just that, again because he
took him on because he's a proper manager.
Because it's more so the money side of it, the finances and all that, because it'll cost more.
Yeah.
But hey, exactly. That's what you get. Thing is, in life, you get what you pay for. If you pay top dollar, you get the best out of what you get. If you do what we've done with Arteta, with all due respect, like I said before, because he's not very experienced, we're getting what we're getting. This isn't what this modern day football. The way it works now doesn't allow that to happen. You get punished now for that. It's not like when Arsene Wenger came to England. Oh, no one in England knew of him, apart from obviously David Dean and the people at Arsenal.
Yeah.
At the board level, none of us heard of him.
No.
But obviously, because of that, because there wasn't the oil money or the Russian money, this, that, and the other, he had the time to get things settled and put his plans in place, in motion over the next couple of years and reap the benefits of it. Whereas now, even under George Graham came in, the pressure he would have been under over that period of he was coming into, where it was going backwards, Arsenal as a club, and this, that, and the other. He was because again it was only Liverpool really competing at a high level. He got given the time, and look what the benefits he reaped from it for over 7-8 years of being at the club, winning the 89, 91 league titles, the cup double in 93, the European Cup Winners' Cup in 94, and the 87 League Cup final as well. Whereas now, this modern day football doesn't allow for that now. You don't get that time.
When Wenger came on board, he had a process. He had a clear vision of what he wanted, where he was going to get the players. He had the time, yes, but he had a way of buying players, getting players that,
in the market as well.
Very thought of at the time, and he built on what was already there. The problem is with Arteta, he can't build on what was already there.
No,
he doesn't have the back five that Wenger had.
What you've got to remember is it was actually David Dean in '83 when he took over as vice chairman. He had a vision for the club. David Dean.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
and,
the vision was shared, wasn't it?
And he got the right people in that he believed could fulfil that vision for him, and it worked. And we became the greatest club that there was, the greatest team that we had. And since then, since David Dean went, we haven't had anybody with that vision for the club in any part of the club. Maybe some of the players might, some of the younger players, but the people that own the club, the people that are in the directors' jobs, all the people on the board, none of them have got a vision for the club in that same way. They just got a vision for how much money they can make. And that's why we're where we are. We need another David Dean to come in and say, look, this is where I want the club to go. This is my vision for the club, and put that into practice, which is what David Dean did. He never gets the credit he deserves. Yes, he made some mistakes as well. Of course he did. And he upset a lot of people. But ultimately, he came in as a young director in 1983 with a vision to make Arsenal great again. And he achieved it.
Yeah. I mean, it is a shout.
We never went on from that, did we? Once that all fell away.
No one took that on, did they? There was no one else that came on.
We just declined. That was our decline, really.
2007 he left. 2007, he left David Dean. Look what's happened to the club since where we was from 83 to 2007. Look where we've been since 2007. Stagnated and going backwards because we haven't got anybody with that drive and that ambition to make the club successful in
and all the other
right
clubs. What
positions.
they've done is they've brought in the better players, better managers, more money, and they've just gone past us. Even the average teams are spending 40, 50 million pound on a player now. So there is no lower league in the Premier League. Because back in the day, the Premier League was made up of 2 or 3, maybe 4 top clubs, and the rest were just sort of scrapping for what was left. Now, you've got 18 teams all capable of beating the big teams and spending the big money. And we've joined them really at the moment.
In terms of obviously you mentioned David. Would David O'Leary be a good shout to be the modern day David Dean, basically come in, and because he's an Arsenal man, he knows that, and he knows what it means to the club, for the club and all that. Would he be ideal to come in and put something in place and see how things go there?
Possibly, but what has he actually done in that role since he stopped playing?
Yeah, it's true. I'll get that.
What Arsenal player has actually done really, really well in a management level since they left the club?
Yeah.
It's not really necessarily just the manager we need, though, is it? It's not.
No, but I mean,
yes,
look at
we need a better manager.
Who's done well in that position?
When I mentioned David, I mean like at a board level, as in the role that David Dean had, not as in obviously coming in. Because he has managed to.
I don't know what his business acumen is. Is he? Does he have that way about him? I don't know. Maybe he does.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know that this. Obviously, people question will know this, and obviously only he will know that. But it's worth it. It's got to be a bit worth a risk, or
it can't be worse.
No, it can't be worse than what we're going through, or do a duoship of him and Overmars. Because Overmars has got some experience at some level, and they can lean on each other.
Yeah.
Both of.
Well, I think Overmars would be very good.
Sorry.
I think Overmars would be very good because the people after Arsene left came was Raul, who wanted all the power. He fired Sven because he was doing good work. He found some real gems, but he had some mistakes. So he wanted all the power. He fired Sven. Then came Edu. Edu wanted all the power, all his agents, super agents. What I think was I have watched Ajax and all. I watched all they have and developed their young talent from the academy. Mark is doing all the great work by running around the whole team. While Edu, Arteta, Vinay, they're like the top 3 people who are doing all the talk. Like we don't have real team behind them, or even if they are putting a team behind them. Like Overmars is doing a good work over there. He even got 5 million for Onana for Lyon, who is going to be free in January. And we can't even sell some of the players. While even Bellerin could have been sold for 18, 15, 25 million. But at the most we would be getting 10, the way it's going on. So Edu is not doing the right thing. He's wanting all the powers. He's wanting to hire all his friends, all the things that he has done. And I don't like the work. There are so many Brazilian talents coming in. We had a chance for Bruno Guimaraes, which we are linked currently. And we want to sell around, we want to pay 35, 40 million when we could have gotten him for 10, 15 million. And as Edu, he's a Brazilian, he could have convinced Guimaraes 10. So, if he would have been doing a good work, then we would have been seeing signings under 20, 25 years from Brazil. But only one that we have seen is Martinelli, and the other one that he's gone with is a super agent, from Willian.
Yeah.
Well, think if you're running the club as a business, if you were running a big business, you'd be doing interviews and you'd want to see CVs, wouldn't you? You want to see what you've done to apply for this position. And that's where you'd start, wouldn't it? No, it doesn't necessarily have to be an ex-player. It could be somebody that's, been very successful in minor league, but has actually got what you need to run your club. And as I say, so long as they can do the job, I don't care who it is, really.
Mm.
You know, pay them the money, make get the players they look at and they can see and will improve the club and go from there. But but that's for the future. At the moment, we've got what we've got, and they've got to get the best out of the players that we have, and see where we go. Really, we've got a relatively difficult start. We've got City, we've got Chelsea, we've got Tottenham in the first 6 games. We're playing 2 promoted teams. They're all going to be tough games.
Yep.
We could,
And Burnley away.
3 or 4 games for the first 5 games. Before we know where we are, we're 9 points behind City. And that's awful.
And a manager out of a job. And potentially manager, if that's the case, manager out of a job as well.
Isn't he? He's been backed to a degree. He's been following a process, but if the process is broken or not working, you could see him not being around at Christmas, especially if we're in the bottom half of the table. I'm hoping we're not. I'm going into the season thinking this is it. We're going to do really well, and we're going to improve, and we're going to, But
I think there's a majority of the fan base are hoping that is the case, because obviously without European football now, it's just domestic. He's going to have more time with the players, this, that, and the other day to day. They are hoping for it. And I hope for that as well. But from what I'm seeing this pre-season, I know it's playing pre-season, but we're literally days away now from a new season starting, and I'm not excited. I'm not looking forward to next week or any of the games going. I'm not even breaking my neck to go to these games. I'm not like, I've got to be there, because I know I'm not going to enjoy the day itself, and it's all about enjoying the day, being out with obviously fellow brothers, fellow Gooners as well, and watching some good football. But we don't even get that. This is another thing before we wrap things up under Arteta. He's been in the job now for over a year and a half. Well, yeah, over a year and a half now. And we don't know what style he wants to play. There's not a pattern of style to his game, how we play anymore. It's like there's a template of whatever.
It's almost made up on the day, isn't it? It's always made up on the day.
Yeah, and that's very concerning. You'd have thought, with all the backlash of last season, as I keep saying, going back to it, how poor it was, someone, if not him learning himself, someone on his backroom staff must be coming to one side and saying, this is where we made mistakes last season, this is where we've got to address this and have to improve. But we're watching these pre-season games, and we're looking worse than what we did last season in certain games. I mean, this week, I was at the game on Sunday, and again, going forward, at times you look fantastic, especially when Partey was on. So refreshing to have a midfielder get the ball and just run at the fucking ball forward. Because I ain't seen that for God knows how long. But our weakness was, as we've seen for the last how many years, over a decade, nearly 2 decades now, is literally coming too far forward and getting caught out on one ball over the top and getting completely exposed. I mean, if Werner was a better striker, he would have scored at least a hat-trick in the first half.
Yeah.
The amount of opportunities we gave to him, because we were just... You'd think after the first or second time, the players might have learned, but they're not learning. And because it's the same players again, I keep saying, that it's some blind faith given to him, like Rob Holding. Bellerin comes on and gives a fucking assist to Tammy Abraham. I think he plays for Arsenal already. It is fucking annoying. I'm sorry, it is annoying. I don't like swearing a lot, but it is fucking annoying. It frustrates the hell out of me that when I see this player put on a red shirt. I find it insulting that Hector Bellerin has the number 2 jersey, because I've grown up with the likes of Lee Dixon having that number 2, and what he did with that number, obviously as a player over the years.
Great fullbacks over the years. We have great fullbacks over the years. Great fullbacks.
Yeah. But he's just nowhere in it. I mean, this is what I said to my brother. Because my brother goes, in terms of going forward, he's got the pay. He's more committed going forward and defending it. And this is the thing. In terms of the wing back, we play wing backs. You see more of him going forward, but he never tracks back. He's a defender. Part of his job, the first and foremost part of his job, is to defend. He doesn't do. He's more concerned about attacking. I mean, the Northern Derby, the away game last season, he gave the ball away and literally just walked down the pitch back to his position. And Rob Holding completely exposed. And obviously, they went 1-0 up and then 2-0. It does, as I said, it does concern me. But also, as you mentioned, we have got some tough starts, tough games to start the season. We've got three of the top 6. well, top 7 technically because they finished 7th, that down the road. 2 Brentford, Norwich, and then Burnley away. That's our first 6 games. And once all that, we've got Tottenham as our last pre-season this Sunday at their gaff. I mean, what we thinking about that game? Can we wrap things up?
Well, it's Tottenham Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
we could quite easily win that game. We could demolish them, but potentially. But then again, we could play it out for the back for the first 10 minutes and concede a goal, couldn't we? I mean, we don't know.
Well, yeah, once.
What we needed, Mark's saying at least Spurs are losing tonight. What we needed actually was Spurs to win, and then we beat Spurs big on Sunday. We win this little tournament, don't we? If Chelsea win tonight, they have won the tournament already. So we need Tottenham to win, actually. I don't often want them to win, but in terms of us actually winning this little pre-season tournament, we need Spurs to win by maybe 1 goal, and then we beat Tottenham by 2 goals, and then we win the tournament. So that would actually be the best result, really, wouldn't it, I suppose, when you look at it. But then I suppose if Spurs win tonight and then they beat us, they win the tournament, and then that wouldn't be very good, would it? So you've got to look at that as well. That's more likely, probably, isn't it, as things are going at the moment. But I was just trying to be optimistic and think we could win a little tournament, a pre-season tournament, which would be nice. The only way we can do that is Tottenham tonight. The only way we've got a chance is Tottenham have to win. So,
yeah. But it's 1-0. It's half. I was just checking that. It's half time. They've both gone strong teams. So looking at the Tottenham team, they've got the new goalie in goal. Got McAdoherty, Tatanga, Eric Dyer, Reguilon at the back 4. Oliver Skip, Højbjerg, Dele Alli, Lucas Moura, Son down the middle, and Bergwijn. No Kane, obviously.
No.
So I've wondered Harris, by the way. He's a professional. He'll never do that to them. Chelsea gone for Edward Mendy, and then the back 3, centre back 3 of Chaboa, Zuma, and Rudiger. Callum Hudson-Odoi as a fullback, Marcos Alonso fullback, Kovacic, Kante, and then the front 3 of Zayt, so you pronounce his name, Timo Werner, and Kai Havertz. So they've gone. I mean, Chelsea was stronger because of the European champions. They look stronger as well, especially without Kane. Especially they haven't got Kane. And I find it as an Arsenal fan, I find it hilarious. All these, he's a professional. He'll never do anything like that.
Yeah.
Oh, where's Harry Kane now then?
No, it's quite funny. It is funny.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that's the one thing in life as an Arsenal fan at the moment. No matter how bad we are and how shit we see things, Tottenham was they've knocked down the road seat and go hold my beer, and they sort of raise the bar even further and make us feel a little bit better. But fucking. I was going to say, Rohan, what was your thoughts? Obviously, going into Sunday as well for our last pre-season before the season starts next week.
Like I personally did not like the tactics against Chelsea, playing a high line against so many fast forwards, and that too all with the players that are slow, Holding and Pablo Mari, plus Chambers. The only fast player in our back 4 was Tierney. And then I don't really like Aubameyang coming in from the left because he's not going to be in creating anything. He's going to go in the center for scoring chances, and that leaves the left field fully open for Tierney. And then he is not going to put in those like Tierney is putting in the crosses. Aubameyang is still putting them above, or even not connecting the header. So, if we are going to include Aubameyang in the team, the only way I see it as a central striker, because the way he comes in from the left, he's not going to be creating any chances for whoever the striker is playing. Obviously, Lacazette has done the things as a striker, but he does that when he has two wingers who are going to pass the ball and run into spaces created by him. But Aubameyang only what I've seen with playing both of them, Laka and Auba, together is Auba runs into the center more and Laka stays back for creating chances, which obviously hasn't worked well. The only time it worked was in our EL run in 2019, and then also the final didn't work as we thought it would. But hopefully, because of Spurs not having the senior centre backs and not having Kane, we should smash them 2-0, 3-0. Hopefully that's the day. But they do get away with a goal somehow, like Lamela's Rabona last year. So hopefully we
But he's
get
gone. He's
clean
gone now.
sheet
Anyway.
finally.
Yeah, well, he's got. Oh, obviously, the has gone back. He's gone to Spain, hasn't he? Been part of the bloody. What was it? Brian Hill gone come over his way, but yeah. One last comment in the chat from Mateus saying some numbers and stats. Arsenal is number 11 in the world for revenue size, £340.3 billion. Net spent in the last 5 years is 291.3 million. That is fourth in the league. Surely supporters should have expectations. We should, but again, it's down to the ownership and having putting the right people in place. In fact, not just the recruitment, but the entire setup below him, board level, you name it. And this is what we're reaping. We're spending money, that sort of money, overspending on players that aren't good enough on wages. I mean, Kolasinac came to us on a free, and straight away we gave him £90,000 in wages per week, and obviously he's gone up to 100 or whatever, and bonuses and all that. Wages is look at that. Look at that for wages over. Jesus Christ, and that's the fifth best that's the fifth highest in the Premier League, and yet I'm saying this is what I'm saying because the players, the people who aren't in players, we are overspending on players. We are overindulging the players with massive wages as soon as they come in. I mean, it's absolutely bizarre. And yet the owner's sitting there watching the club piss his money away because it is effectively his money because he's a club that he owns. Like it or not, that is the case. And that's where he should be as an owner and as a businessman thinking, well, hang on, you're losing me money. We are looking at them stats there, looks at them stats and goes, oh, hang on, we're the fourth, net, in terms of net spend, for example, the fourth in the league and wages are fifth highest in the league and this, that and the other. Why the hell are we underperforming? Why the hell are we struggling to get European football? Why are we falling out of Europe? Why are we not competing at a high level? And I mean,
but this is what we said earlier, though, Ryan, isn't it? It's what we said earlier about bad management of the club from top to bottom, and that's why we're overspending compared to the results. We're spending a lot more to get worse results than we should be in comparison to other clubs because we're not run properly. That's the bottom line, isn't it?
And this is where the comparison of Liverpool owner, obviously Henry at Liverpool, even though he doesn't know much about football, he hires the right people, and if they're not doing the job, he'll replace them. Yeah. Whereas our guys are sits in his hands and hopes for the best. And even he's not just Stan, it's Stan as well. I mean, with all due respect, Josh is done basically the voice piece of the KSC itself. And it's clear as day because he just repeats what his dad says. He is the face of that now. He's like, oh, you're the younger generation, you're the next generation, off you go. And he just repeats, and it's so obvious. And it's no matter who says it, I don't believe him. And then when Josh said, like I said earlier, when Josh said what he said at the forums and all that, we heard it and saw it. I laughed. I said it ain't going to happen, and I've been proven right because if they don't care or not, it's a business end of the day for them, but they're running it piss poorly compared to, for example, the LA Rams, where they're investing heavily in it because that's a sport franchise they care about. But you'd think, considering they're using us as collateral, they'd want to be making as much money out of us as well, making us successful as possible as well at the same time. But it is very, very frustrating because again, it's not, and people see this or whatever and think at Arsenal, as Arsenal we're being spoiled because of the early Wengers. No, it's just that there was the way the club was run before Kroenke was the way to go back then. We haven't evolved. Even under a new owner, he's come in and he's stuck with that tradition sort of side of things. He hasn't evolved with the times, and this is the thing. This is the frustrating thing, because he's not evolving with the times, we are struggling and we are going backwards the way we are. It's saying something when we're competing with a team that's just, well, not just a team. Leicester City came up after 16 years out of, whatever it was, out of the Premier League. Second season in the Premier League, they won the league. Villa were out the Premier League for 3-4 years, came back up, and now they're in their second season, pushing us for 7th and 8th and all that. West Ham, a team that was meant to be getting relegated, finished above us in Europe in the European spot. Leicester City are now considered a bigger club than us in the modern day era in the last few years because they've got an owner again that gives a shit. No matter whether it's obviously the father obviously passed away a few years ago. Now the son, there's a system in place. There's a blueprint in place, and how things are run. They reap the benefits, and it's from top to bottom, as you say, and they invest in not just in the club itself, but in the community. I mean, the Leicester owner, but was the dad and obviously now the son that's taken over. They invest heavily into the local community, the hospitals, in the charities, and this, that, and the other. They care. They show they care, and they get that love back because they're showing some sort of love into the community. They get it back from the fan base, and the players don't buy into that because they're seeing all this and think, "Oh, fantastic! You know what? This is not a bad place to be." I mean, I was watching Sky Sports earlier on, and people were asking, "Why would Maddison leave Leicester?" And to an extent, I get what they're saying. Because Leicester are going in the one way and we're going another by the looks of it. There's no sign of us turning things around at the moment and going from one extreme to going back upwards again. Because we've got an owner that you said that doesn't give a shit, and basically he's happy to piss away his own money by the looks of it because he doesn't care that the money he's currently got is being piss poorly managed and used by people that don't know what they're doing of. I mean, we've apparently approached the Leicester City physio to come to Arsenal for the new season. He's part of the new setup. But we hired a new, we've fired one goalkeeping coach, not the one we should have fired, but we've fired one. Fired Steve Bold, obviously, because of what he's done. Obviously, last season was a piss poor season for him. But in the areas that need to be addressed, we're not addressing them. When the player recruitment, how many years has our recruitment been piss poor, with all due respect? It's got to be over 10 plus years. It's been on a steady decline, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm sick of repeating myself, but I can't say. I can't just be making up as I go along and hoping for singing it. Oh, everything's rosy in the garden when it isn't.
No, exactly. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter actually, and social media in general. There seems to be a lot of people that are saying there's too many negative Arsenal fans, and why are Arsenal fans like this? Why can't people be more positive? But I totally agree with you. Being positive when there's no reason to be positive is just ridiculous. You've got to be realistic. And realistic situation is we're in a bit of a mess. This is going to be a very difficult season for us. Yes, we may have a cup run to ease the pressure a little bit, but it's going to be a very difficult season for us. If we finish in the top 6 and qualify for Europe, that will be considered a massive success in the circumstances. Anything more than that would be a miracle, and anything less than where we finished this season would have to be considered a failure. So this is where we are, and it's difficult for maybe. I don't know which Arsenal fans from what age and what era would be happy and positive about the fact that we are in this situation where we're looking at potentially another mid-table finish, the third in a row, and not being and being positive about that. There's nothing really to be positive about, and I want us to win every game. And I'll be hoping that we do win every game. But we've got to be realistic, and we've got to understand where we are. And where we are is there's very little to be positive about at this moment in time, being an Arsenal fan. Very little. The little things that we do have, we cling on to, such as Saka and Smith Rowe, for example, and, one or two other, Martinelli and maybe one or two others. So, but there's very little to be optimistic and positive about. I'm not saying that we should be criticising everybody all the time unnecessarily. No. That's ridiculous. But we've got to be realistic. We've got to understand where we are. And it's no good being positive now. And then when we've lost our first 3 games and we're bottom of the league, then suddenly start criticising everybody. We've got to be realistic. We may well lose our first 3 games, let's be honest, and we could be bottom of the league. But ultimately, people like ourselves who maybe aren't overly positive for no reason will understand that because this is where we are. And these things are likely to happen. And it's not it'd be a disaster if we stayed at the bottom. It wouldn't be a disaster to lose them first 3 games when you think 2 of them are against 2 of the strongest teams, and the other one's against a newly promoted side who's going to be, their first full stadium at a new ground full of fans. They're going to get a lift, aren't they? So it wouldn't surprise me if we did lose our first 3 games. It's not going to suddenly make me change my mind about the season. We're still probably going to finish between 6th and 10th, somewhere in that region of the league. That's where we'll finish. and hopefully we have a cup run in one of the cups, and it can keep our season alive and keep us interested. Because if we're out of both cups by January, what are those months going to be like between January and May if we're in 10th, 11th place in the league? It's just going to be, it's going to be easy to lose interest, isn't it? Because that's, we're Arsenal and we expect more than that. We expect more than that because we're Arsenal and because we've experienced more than that before. And it's difficult to accept this mediocrity. And anybody that accepts the mediocrity and says, oh, we need to be positive about finishing 8th in the league. No, we're Arsenal and we shouldn't settle for that. We shouldn't be happy with that. People wasn't happy finishing 4th every year a few years ago, and now they're suddenly happy finishing 8th. It's like, come on, we're Arsenal. We should be challenging at least in the top 4. We should be challenging for honours because we're Arsenal, and we're not at this moment in time because of all the things that we've mentioned tonight and loads of other things probably as well that we haven't got round to mentioning. And we need to be realistic about where we are. As a fan base, that's what we need to do. Yeah, we need to get behind the team when the games are on. We need to support the players. We don't need to be moaning at Xhaka getting a new contract. That's the club decision. We need to support him when he's playing. If he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. If he plays badly, he deserves to be criticised along with everybody else. But just be realistic about what the ambitions are for the club, where we are, and manage those expectations. Don't expect too much and don't expect too little. And players are going to make mistakes because that's where we are. We've got players that are going to make mistakes and they're playing, and that's the way it is. And try to accept that. And if we accept all that, then hopefully we can at least try and enjoy the season for what it is. We're not going to win the league. We're probably not going to finish in the top 4. And we're going to lose quite a lot of games. And I just think we need to accept that and try and enjoy it, being back in the stadium, going to games or whatever it is, and try to enjoy it as much as we can and not worry too much. Seems to be a divide in the fan base, positive fans and negative fans. We don't need all that. Let's just all understand where we are, support the team when we're playing, moan if we lose and criticise players if they make mistakes, but don't drag it on. The next day after a game, forget that. Think about the next game and forget who's made a mistake and let the manager deal with that. And hopefully the next game they'll play better. And just try and look at it like that. I just feel as though there seems to be people, I think on social media, people want to get a lot of followers by either being overly positive or being overly negative just to try to get followers. It's like, come on, that's just giving our fan base a bad name. Everybody just needs to be just chill. Look at where we are. We're going to be probably mid-table. If we do better, let's enjoy that. And if we do worse, then we've got a right to maybe say Arteta out or whatever it might be. Do you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with criticising the team when we lose and criticising players when they make mistakes. That's fine. Don't just let's just blindly support them all the time, even when we're losing 5-0. Oh, well, that's all right. We only lost 5-0. We need to be happy and be positive. No, we're allowed to be annoyed at losing 5-0 or losing any game, really. We're allowed to be annoyed. But, it doesn't mean we're negative fans. It just means we're realistic and we're upset because we want better. We want better for the club. All of us do. We want to see us back somewhere where we were 15, 20 years ago. That's what we all want. And until we get that, we're not going to be totally happy. Oh, I can't settle. I'm not going to be happy or positive that Arsenal might finish 7th or 8th this season because that's not enough. It's not good enough for Arsenal. And that's not because I'm maybe spoiled or whatever it is. No, we're Arsenal. You look at the history of the club. We are not a mid-table club, are we? We are a club that should be challenging at the top end of the league. And that's what we should all want for Arsenal. And we shouldn't settle for less than that. And we should be striving, as long with the club, to be better. And if that means having a go at people sometimes and picking on the manager or the owners, then we're allowed to do that, as long as we keep it reasonable and be sensible about it and just keep a bit more perspective on it all. That's what I want us to do as a fan base, because there's no point, is there, of turning against each other on social media or whatever. We all need to stick together and try to get the most out of this season that we can possibly do as fans. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard to find the positives and enjoy the season, isn't it? I think, but you never know. Let's hope if we beat Man City and we beat Chelsea, then we'll all be over the moon, won't we? But let's not assume that means we're going to win the league, because we won't, even if we win them 2 games. Let's be honest. It would be nice if we did win, but we're still going to be in the same position. It might just add a bit of confidence, maybe, but just realistic. That's all we need to be, and we're fine. We can moan if we lose, and we can enjoy it if we win. It doesn't make us hypocrites. We can't, we can have a go at Xhaka one week because he made a mistake, and we can praise him the next week because he played well. That's being a football fan, isn't it? That's what we do. you know, we enjoy winning and we hate losing, and that's the way it is. And unfortunately, we've lost too many games in the last few years, and we may well lose more this season, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we sort of we need to stop making things up. Going only 2 hours. Bloody hell! They meant to be an hour show as well. Last comment: Tottenham's wages are 88. Bloody hell! I mean, a year. As to us, 108 million a year. And Leicester's wages are 56.
56.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's getting the most for your money, isn't it? That's getting the most for your money, isn't it? With Leicester winning the FA Cup, finishing 5th 2 years in a row, that's getting the most out of your money. Look at us. We spent double what they have to finish 8th 2 years running. Yeah, we won an FA Cup as well, but you know, we finished 8th 2 years running, and we spent double what they have on wages alone. That's without transfer fees and everything else. Just goes to show we're a terribly badly run club, and this is why we're where we are.
And they've won the league title more recently.
Yeah, we're spending the money. Look, we're clearly spending the money. We're just not spending it in the right way and on the right players and on the right things. That's what its bottom line is. And you know, we may well buy 2 or 3 more players in this transfer window. Hopefully, we will. But we would need to buy the right players at the right money on the right contracts. That's what we need to do, and that will be a successful window. I don't want us to buy Maddison for 80 million, paying him 190 grand, 250 grand a week, because that's not a good deal. Player that's injured quite a lot has got a bit of an attitude off the pitch that needs to be looked at. Do you know what I mean? We need to be sensible now and spend the money properly, and then we may do better. But that much, you know, to have spent more than Leicester and Spurs, who have both finished above us for the last few seasons, just goes to show why we're in the mess that we are. Yeah.
Shows we've got a Leicester fan in the chat. Max, he says, "Hi, Ryan. We are beating Villarreal in the preseason game 3-0. Something United couldn't do in the final."
Wow. We couldn't beat them either in the semi-final, so don't worry about that.
Well, we had 2 legs, so.
Well, exactly. Yeah, we couldn't win either of them. So there you go. And they're beating them 3-0. But then again, they got knocked out of the Europa League about 2 rounds before we did. So funny old game.
Against what was it? Against the what was it?
The team that we beat, didn't we? Slavia Prague. We hammered them 4-0, didn't we? And Leicester couldn't even score against them in 2 games. So, you know, don't get carried away, Max. You know what I mean? It's a pre-season friendly. When it mattered, you couldn't win, could you? Apart from the FA Cup, we'll give you that. We'll give you the FA Cup. You did well. You beat Chelsea, so that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I was a Leicester on that day. I was a Leicester fan because obviously it's Chelsea. You don't want Chelsea to do anything.
I quite like Leicester, actually. To be fair, I like what they've done. I like the way they've been run as a club. Every success that they have, you've got to admire. You just got to look at those figures that Mateus put on there, and you know, every bit of success they have, they've deserved, and fair play to them. And I wish we were run a bit better, and we then maybe little bits of success that we had, we could enjoy a bit more. But unfortunately, we're underperforming massively, aren't we? With those figures, and it just sums it up really. So fair play to Leicester. I'm sure they'll have a good season, and they'll probably be challenging for the top 4 again, won't they?
More than likely,
And plus, Tottenham have scored 1 goal. Tottenham scored 1 goal, so it's 2-1 currently.
I'll 2-1 now. Tottenham have scored all the comebacks on.
Yeah.
We're screwed on Sunday. They can score. They can score against Chelsea. They're going to score loads against us. Then bloody hell. They heard Arsenal going to offer 60 million plus. One sec. Let's wrap up. Heard Arsenal. £60 million and 4 players from Maddison. No, you've got the option. There's 4 players. You've got an option of one of them 4 players, basically.
Have they?
And I think this is rumours. It's all rumours. Nothing's been confirmed. It's just because obviously they want like 70 million, and we're trying to lower the price and stagger it all that crap out. But yeah, I mean, what was it? The players that was it? I think Eddie Ainsley, obviously a central midfielder. He was a play central midfield anyway. I'm trying to think. Reece Nelson's been offered, but Vieira wants him at Palace. And oh dear, but to wrap things up, obviously, very interesting. And obviously, I said we've got to be seeing a lot more of Steve. Obviously, he's lost signal. He did mention me, so he lost signal when we went earlier. So, but you'll see a lot more of Steve Rohan and someone else called Rico throughout the season. They're going to be joining me full time for the podcast, and obviously lots of Richard, Melvin, and all that will be coming on a special guest, and etc. As I was part of the panel as well, but we've got a full-time panel, and we're going to see him again on Saturday for a Premier League prediction show. We're going to go from bottom to top. We'll obviously give our own where we think who's going to finish where, and this, that, and the other. And have a bit of a laugh, and let's talk about Arsenal more, talk about everyone else, and give as a neutral, give our own perspective on certain things. Let's just have a bit of a laugh and enjoy ourselves, really, because make the most of it. Because in a few days' time after that, Brentford away, yay! Down the road for me as well, bloody hell, effectively anyway. But yeah, I mean, thanks, Richard, for joining us. Obviously, where can people find you? And obviously, you want to plug your channel and what you've got coming up.
Yeah, obviously, the channel's over and over and over again. I've got some stuff coming up tomorrow. I've got a video coming out actually looking at a couple of these players that we might be looking at buying in the next couple of weeks. James Maddison is one of them, so that's going to be good. That's coming out tomorrow. And obviously, I'll be doing a little bits and pieces for the Tottenham game. I'll probably won't be doing a watch along, but I'll be doing some stuff on that. And obviously, the women play at Tottenham as well on the same day, so there'll be coverage of that. And then obviously on Tuesday there'll be the Tuesday Club next week. It was a good show last night that we did, and that's on every week as well. And then obviously on Friday there'll be the first game of the season, which I will do a watch along of that. So that's going to be good as well. Hopefully we can start the season well. And I'm going to be getting hopefully a Brentford fan on as well to preview that game. And Isaiah Rankin as well, of course, who played for Arsenal and Brentford. He's coming on as well to review that game. So there's loads coming up on the channel. So it's over and over and over again on YouTube. And yeah, if you want to pop over there and have a check that out, that would be really much appreciated.
Yeah. And Rohan, if you want to be found on social media, where can people find you as well?
Twitter, Rohan09.
Okay, and obviously, big shout out to Steve earlier. As I said, you're going to see a lot more of him, obviously, at the weekend and all that. And James as well. James has his own technology problems, as we saw. Apparently, kept getting signed out. Every time he signed in, sign him out for no reason. This, that, and the other. So he's having issues there. But I hope we try and get him on soon again, either before the season starts or during the season, as you guys know. And yeah, I mean, as I said, back for Saturday for that in terms of the podcast. We'll try and finish off the career mode before that. Or was it Wednesday? It's Wednesday today, isn't it? Yeah,
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So either Thursday or Friday to finish off the career mode, and then obviously Friday got the podcast. Not Friday, Saturday, sorry. And then at 7 o'clock UK time, and then Sunday you'll be a watch along. Probably if I can get both games up, I'll do a double watch along. Back to back, basically, sort of thing. One stream, both games. That's basically, and go from there. And then, from next Monday onwards, it's just podcast galore in terms of build up for the new season. Obviously, Premier League preview I'm trying to get that organised for Thursday. A few people want to hear back from them, and then I've got the Arsenal preview side of things and the kit reviews and this, that, and the other throughout the week. But there's got a lot of stuff coming. In fact, the season going to have at least two podcasts a week throughout once the season starts. With obviously with the guys like preview for the games, and then after the next day after match day, either Premier League or Cup games and this, that, and the other, and other bits and pieces like the season basically. And as things unfold, I'll get back to you. And obviously, in terms of unfold, I mean, because obviously fans are allowed back in the stadium. But for how long, I don't know, because look who runs our fucking country. Let's be honest. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that won't last long.
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I'm not getting carried away. I'm not getting optimistic because last time that happened, put us in lockdown for 4 months. Again. Oh dear! All whilst he's fucking doing what he's doing and all that crap. But it is what it is. And yeah, so if you're new to the channel, do subscribe. If you've liked this podcast and you've enjoyed the conversations we've had, do smash the like button, share the content around, and yeah, we'll see you again soon. And as always, up the Arsenal! Come on, you Gunners!
Come on, you Gunners!